So, the first poem that I'll be reading today, and the only poem I'll be reading today, who knows what's happening right now, is Healing. And the significance of reading this today is um, not only do I post cold readings and uh, other types of videos like that, I kind of do the freestyle dancing thing, and that's just for fun. Um, and it also is kind of just to try to challenge my ankle because I sprained it on my right side 2 years ago, and I'm always looking for ways to try to strengthen and challenge it safely because 2 years have gone by and it still just, gives you grief and maybe needs surgery, maybe not, who knows, who could say. Um, and then before that even happened, I was already going to physical therapy for my neck, and I have a rib out. I've got all kinds of problems, right, with my physical body. And that is, if you know me, that has been hard to deal with as an adult because as a young person, I have spent majority of my life just abusing my body with, doing sports and doing 5Ks and just all kinds of things. Um, and that includes coaching as well, other sports, and um, you find out that you're not as young as you used to be. Your body can't be pushed that way, not without some, intense conditioning like you did back in the day. And so this poem is kind of an ode to that process that I went to during the initial injury where I had sprained it. Um, And for anybody who goes through a huge injury where something kind of happens to you, um, when there's a traumatic event involved, like for example, if you, like me, you fell from a high distance, that can be traumatic in the dark. Um, or whatever it is, when there's a trauma associated with that injury, the healing process no longer becomes just about healing bones and tendons and veins. That much is important, that's true. But a lot of it then becomes a part of the mind, and not as to say just uh, retraining your brain and retraining your memory, but it also kind of touches very closely to that idea of acceptance in your mind and in your body that it's may not move ever again the way it used to. So it the healing process, you are healing multiple things. So, and it can take a lot longer than you think it will, because the healing process is like layers. Um, and so this poem, I'm going to read for you guys now. I'm going to quit stalking. It's kind of my favorite thing to do. That poem is kind of exploring that idea that, ho ho, dear reader, you have lots of work to do. You thought you were done. Mm-mm. You have lots of healing to do, and the work's just beginning. So, without further ado, Healing by Moi. Tendons, veins, and vessels snapped like bones. Searing pain violently attacks, and as quickly as it comes, it's unknown. A whole new level awaits. Like wearing a new suit of armor you can't escape. Defender of your own castle is your only goal, whatever it takes. For danger still lurks within the darkness, psychological takedown of the brain. By a puppet master, holding you mindless, defying a moment in this age. Fear will fault you from trying to fix this sprain. Your body may never completely heal, and you find neither will your mind. Short, forgetful, and failing to concentrate, slacken your shoulders and start to participate for this life's recovery. And that is the end of the poem. So I think going forward, just to give these videos some structure, I want to do a beginning, middle, and end, and try to the things I touch on, whether that's literary devices, language, whatever it is that I want to address, I'm going to try to keep it one or two things, because this video, as I'm talking, is already at 6 minutes. So for the first part, I kind of split it up into three ways as well. Um, I introduce these levels of healing and injury, and in the beginning, I break down the initial injury, right? So I talk about um, the event itself. So searing pain violently attacks, and as quickly as it comes, it's unknown. That was a specific reference to that memory, that initial when I fell, and um, the pain is it's weird. It comes and then it's unknown, as is to say that I definitely felt when I fell, and um, but it's weird. As quickly as the pain came, it stopped. Um, but it, it was it was more to address the fact that it was a numb feeling brought on then by an onset of even more ridiculous pain, because then you try to walk on it because, oh, I'm fine, I'm going to shake it off. It's weird when you get a sprain because nothing breaks or you don't feel anything initially break, you don't think anything's wrong. And so again, your mind is like, oh, I'm not in pain. And then you go and try to walk on it and then you're like, no, that's not gonna work. And so yeah, so that's the first part. Um, and then I kind of go into the initial mindset of what happened. Um, and I kind of articulate it really well. I'm a big fan of using kind of Middle Ages mystical-y type of tropes throughout my poetry. Um, and you'll hear that a lot when I'm doing my feminist poetry. I use the mermaid a lot in regards to women. And I dabble into that here when I talk about um, you're a defender of your own castle is your only goal, whatever it takes, like wearing a new suit of armor. And that was more speaking about how, depending on your situation. For me, I had my boot, right? So I've got my new piece of armor, and it is a constant reminder to me and to everybody that I have this injury, right? And then it's also the literal feeling of being weighed down by the boot, having to get around a little bit oddly, and having to intentionally walk, not walk with a limp. Those kinds of things. Um, it was difficult because again you are constantly reminded that yes, I am injured. And so you have to be aware of your injury, but you have to not be. So it's an odd balance. Uh, but your brain is kind of in this kind of defensive mode, right? It still thinks it's in danger. And so I go into that whole, um, defender of your own castle, whatever it takes. I say whatever it takes because at that time, I before I would be like, oh no, yeah, I'm fine, I'm good. I would do whatever physical activity, you and with no regard on how safe it would be. And now I'm like, no, can't do that. um, for anything. And so it's a very different, um, it's a different method to the madness, in my personality. Um, so yeah, I hope that makes sense. Um, and then I really go deep into it. That even when you kind of you're you go through that healing process, like no, I'm not in danger anymore, and yes, my ankle's starting to heal, the swelling's gone down. Even when you start to have that, 6 to 8 months later, you will still have this feeling of fear. And it's weird how it can kind of transcend into other areas of your life. Um, and I go into that in the next section where I say there is a puppet master holding you mindless, defying a moment in this age that you are less likely to take risks. And in doing so, you are physically restricting yourself yet again.